why do some people have this incredible presence? What is it that makes them seem completely untouched by intimidation or wealth or power? I mean, how is that even possible? That's the big question we're exploring.
Okay, first things first. We need to draw a really clear line here. The kind of aura we're talking about is not the charisma you can learn from a book or practice in front of a mirror. No, this is an internal quality. It's an unseen force that's playing a completely different game. And this is where that distinction really comes into focus. On one hand, you've got your learnable charisma. It's based on skills like public speaking, stuff that can be studied and copied. But on the other hand, you have this profound aura. And it's something that academic research really struggles with. A lot of the time, they just label it divine-related and kind of set it aside because it's just so hard to pin down and measure.
So what this all really boils down to is that a divine aura isn't about projecting something outward. It's actually all about an unshakable core within. It's a state of being so stable that the person is, well, they're fundamentally imperturbable. Nothing from the outside world, not power, not money, not social pressure, can actually touch them. So how does this quality actually work in a social setting? How does this internal stability show up and affect the people around them? Well, it turns out it all comes down to breaking a really fundamental social script that we all follow. Okay, so we all have these empathic circuits kind of built into us, right? When someone around us gives off a signal of insecurity or anxiety, we often feel a bit awkward. We get that icky feeling ourselves. It's like a feedback loop. We unconsciously mirror and validate their state, which just reinforces it for them. And this is that social feedback loop in action. You've seen it a million times. Person A might stutter or seem nervous. Person B picks up on it, gets that ick feeling, and their reaction just confirms person A's own feeling of inadequacy. The awkwardness just keeps cycling and growing. But someone with this true aura, they don't play along. They break the cycle completely. And why? Because their internal state is so solid, it feels like they have a soul made of steel. They are impossible to shake, so they don't give off that validating ick reaction. They just remain stable. And that stability changes the entire dynamic of the room.
So the big question is, where does a soul of steel even come from? Well, the source material points to an origin that is both shocking and incredibly profound. And let me tell you, it is not something you can build through positive thinking. It's forged in absolute crises. Now, we're not just talking about having a bad day or even a tough year. This begins at a point of total collapse, a moment when every single coping mechanism you have, both inside and out, completely and utterly fails you. This concept, which has been described by mystics like St. John of the Cross, is called the dark night of the soul. It's a point where all the good stuff in your life, your hope, your logic, your friends, any distractions, is completely wiped away, and you are left with absolutely nothing but a flood of negativity. Just try to imagine that for a second. Everything you use to balance out life's hardships, it's just gone. No emotional support, no logical way to rationalize it, no human connection. You are totally and utterly abandoned. And right there, in that moment, something remarkable can happen. The source shares this incredibly powerful story of a patient who, after his seventh suicide attempt, had this profound realization. Lying there in the hospital, he understood that even as he was consciously trying to die, a deeper force inside him strived to live more than he strived to die. He connected to that primitive core, and it gave him a truly unshakable stability. After you've survived that kind of total collapse, you become the eye of the storm. Life can throw its absolute worst at you, but you've already been through the ultimate tempest and somehow survived. You just remain stable, right there at the center, connected to that indestructible core. But here's the thing. Finding this deep inner connection doesn't magically erase your personality or your ego. And this part is absolutely critical. Depending on the state of that ego, this newfound stability can lead you down two very, very different paths. And this is where the path splits completely. And it all depends on one thing: the ego. Without the ego getting in the way, this connection leads to deep compassion, a genuinely healing presence. But with the ego, that same power gets corrupted. The person becomes addicted to it, attracting followers just to soothe their own insecurities, and they end up becoming, well, a cult leader. So without the ego filtering this whole experience, a person develops what the source calls Ick Resistance. They gain this profound compassion because they can see past all the social awkwardness and flaws, all that ick. And they recognize the divine spark, the diamond that's just been covered in junk, that exists inside every single person. So, after exploring this whole phenomenon, its power, its origin, its potential pitfalls, the source material leaves us with a really crucial warning, one that you really need to hear. And here it is, the ultimate paradox. If you're listening to this and thinking, wow, I want that, that very desire is coming from your ego. You're trying to be great, but the people who have this true aura, they simply are. The very act of wanting it, of striving for it, makes it totally impossible to achieve. So the ultimate takeaway is actually pretty simple. Don't go chasing a catastrophic breakdown. The source is very clear about that. Instead, the best path forward is just to focus on building a good life. Increase the good stuff, reduce the bad stuff. Just live well. Ultimately, the source suggests that if this kind of profound transformation is in your destiny, it will find you. You don't need to go looking for it. For everyone else, the best thing to do is just build a balanced, good life. And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. Is true transformation something that can be achieved, or is it something that just has to happen to you?